Opening number?
How the hell is there just an ant on me?
Guys, with Krista over there asking a question and I can't respond to it right now. What's up, everyone? This is Off the Pulse. We are back for another good weekend of NWSL action. Next week, it'll be a little bit more U.S. Women National Team action for you, as you're all happy for that. Well, this was the last time we got to see some of our girls play on their club teams. I'm with you with a new panel today. If you look below my chin down there, it's actually shaved today, if you can't tell. And I will introduce you to these people. You know, get to learn who their favorite players are and so forth and so on. First, let's introduce Krista in her usual spot. How you doing, Krista?
I'm okay.
That's all we're getting out of Krista today, everyone. And now let's start with Jack. Jack, tell them who you are, who you like, and what you like to do with yourself.
Hey everybody, my name's Jacqueline. I'm a guest panelist here today. I am a senior in college at Ball State University. My favorite player, I don't know if you can tell from behind me. I'm going to let you take a guess. I'm not going to tell you who it is. Hopefully that won't affect any bias. I am an intern for the Chicago Red Stars this summer, and I also write for World Soccer Talk, so you guys can check that out.
Oh, yeah, I have some stuff I have to plug, but I'll plug it later. But, okay, go check out her stuff when you get the chance.
Yeah, don't mean to self-promote, but if you guys do want to check that out.
Graham, tell them who you are, what you do, and what you like. Long walks on the beach?
My name's Graham. I am a current team, so needless to say, I'm a Red Stars fan, and along with everyone on the team for that matter. So, I love Alex Morgan, but not when it comes to club level. So, yeah.
How long have you been doing that with the team? How long have you been with them?
Me?
Yeah.
This is my third season with the team.
Okay,
so,
cool.
Just doing point of view GoPro footage for them.
Yeah, it was funny when I set up the promo and you were just like, I was back there hopping. I was like, I saw you. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that was an experience. It was a good game to be at.
Yeah, it looked like a real fun one. It was a nice one to watch. All right, guys, I guess we can get started. I'm not going to bore you with any of that stuff from those foreign leagues, but I will tell you this. Next week, we will be doing a special Off the Post with a few of my friends overseas, and we'll be talking about the UEFA Women's Champion League that's coming up next week. So I think it might not be next week. Whatever. I got my times mixed up. You'll see a promo. Always promo. We're going to do a show for that, a special show for that, and we'll talk about the teams involved. If you're into that type of thing, you should watch. If you aren't, then you might be able to learn something. Let's jump into the NWSL review, because that's what most of you care about anyway. We will start with Seattle Reign versus Washington Spirit. If you didn't get to watch that game, was it Washington Spirit? Yes, it was Washington Spirit. If you didn't get to watch that game yesterday.
Did you watch that game?
No, I was half asleep because it came on so late. That was the problem. No, actually, I did get to see most of it. It was an enjoyable game for the most part. The Spirit, I mean, the Reign they were coming off of 2 losses on the road, so it was a thing where they had to win or they would be 1-3 this season. So they were definitely looking to win. Washington Spirit would look like they've been in form for the last 2 games. Looked real good, Naren and Dunn. So I guess we will start with you, Graham. What did you think of the Washington Spirit?
Washington Spirits they always have a decent back line. I'm a huge fan of Joanna Lohman. She's kind of a vet for that team. She's really helping out the new guns come together. Dunn's gonna have, I think, with the injury news of, not to kind of get away from that, but the injury news of Tobin Heath, we're gonna be seeing a lot more of her on a national level, which is exciting. Yeah, as far as that, I don't know if I have much more to say about. I didn't get to catch the game.
It's all right. I always tell. Jack, what do you think about Seattle this year coming off of those 2 losses?
Well, I guess so far I'd say Seattle has just shown a little inconsistency through their first 4 games. They always are strong up front, and when they do have good games, they are dominating on the attack with Kim Little and Megan Rapinoe, obviously those two big names for the Seattle Reign, but they have to just get a little more consistent throughout. And despite those inconsistencies, I think they're gonna be okay with the departure of their international players for the World Cup. Megan Rapinoe and Hope Solo obviously will be gone, but they still have Kim Little, who is obviously the NWSL reigning MVP, reigning pun intended, reigning MVP. So I think Seattle Reign is gonna be okay through the rest of the season, but they just got to fix these inconsistencies early on in the season, and I don't think that'll be a problem for Laura Harvey getting that team together. And for the Washington Spirit, like you mentioned, Crystal Dunn has stepped up, especially after being cut from that World Cup roster. I think she has a little something to prove, and she's carrying that both on defense and on the offense a little bit, getting up into the attacks, got a goal. So she's got a little chip on her shoulder, and I think she's trying to prove it to people. And like you said, with Tobin Heath injured, she has another chance to step up and prove that with some international action I'm sure she'll catch over the next couple weeks. But yeah, unfortunately, I did not get to catch much of that game. But Seattle needed that win. They did not want to start the season 1-3, so it was a much-needed win for them.
Like you were saying,
It's an uncharacteristic season for them, I think, coming out of the game. Or coming right out of the gate. I'm excited to see them next year with the addition of Wambach. So that'll be interesting. Especially with, Megan Rapinoe's ball placement is, I would say there's no one better in the league at placing a ball than Megan Rapinoe. So with those two together, going back to the World Cup with Brazil, against Brazil, it's going to be interesting to see what they bring to the table next year, but they're not really doing themselves much favors currently for this season, which is very uncharacteristic of that team as a whole.
So, Krista, what did you think of the Seattle Reign or the Washington Spirit? You get to choose who you want to talk about first, since you were last.
Well, she's a Spirit girl. You know what she's going to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
I just actually started hearing you cut out there for quite a few minutes, so I don't know what anyone was saying. I thought I was going to have to leave and come back in. Okay, anyways, yeah, I think it was definitely good confidence for the Reign to get that win. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't catch it either. I worked really late last night, so I missed, pretty much everything that went on yesterday. So I can't really put in too much input, but I heard it was a good game, so.
Yeah, like you guys were done most part. I really felt like he was playing with a chip on his shoulder. I did that ball that she had made to that nice little pass. I guess it was like, I don't know, back flick or something to Lohman for the easy goal that she set Lohman up for. It was beautiful. Dunn keeps going forward, just kind of amazing. So she's really been fun to watch. Like I said, the team really, Seattle was moving through Little. Every time Little got the ball, she made something happen. She set up Matthias for a nice goal. So those look like those two pieces right there look like they're going to be major players for their team as everyone else heads off to the World Cup. And I think they'll be fun because the Reign we're playing is the usual fast, quick tempo, pressing. But the Spirit, to me, are still no slouch this year, so we should really continue to look out for them. Now let's move on to the Houston Dash and Sky Blue game. FC Kansas City. God dang, I keep reading these notes like real quick up and down. I'm sorry, guys. The Houston Dash versus Kansas City game. It was fun to see Kansas City right now because we actually got to see them with just no national teamers whatsoever, and I really want strong with how they drafted and some of the players they had in that side, even without the national teamers. And I knew that they wouldn't have struggled as much to say as Houston Dash would without the national teamers. And I felt like we got to see a little bit of that yesterday. Graham, let's start with you. What did you think of the Houston Dash or FC Kansas City yesterday?
I have a special place in my heart for FC Kansas City. Sarah Hagen actually is just from up the road from where I live, about 15 minutes, so Wisco native. So I always really enjoy watching them play. Obviously, they're defending right now. So I didn't see where they're at in their power rankings right now, but I'm expecting them to have a very, very reminiscent season of last year as well. And the Dash still developing as a team, I think. Uh, I didn't catch any of the games last night other than the Red Stars one I was at. So
Understandable. You were working.
yeah.
It was understandable. Let's go with you, Jack. What did you think of the Houston Dash and FC Kansas City?
Well, as Graham said, Sarah Hagen, first NWSL goal last night, which is awesome to see. I love her as a player. I think FC Kansas City is one of those teams, with or without their national players, you know what you're going to get out of them. You're going to get a possession-oriented, strong midfield team that knows how to work both sides of the ball. They have a good just overall team and a good overall chemistry to them that they can go up against any team any day, and you're going to get a decent performance out of them. On the other hand, the Dash, especially without Carly Lloyd and Morgan Bryan as they were yesterday, just didn't have much to show in my eyes in terms on the attack. I think that game was really dominated by FC Casey for the large majority of it in terms of offensive production with that 2-0 scoreline. Not many chances for the Dash, I don't think. Not a crazy amount. And I think they're just going to struggle without Carly Lloyd and Morgan Bryan, and last night was proof of that with that 2-0 scoreline. They're going to have very little offensive production is what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, exactly. It was like like you said, you could see it almost. There's just something was missing about that team. Looked totally different about those two in the center mid positions, and they're just thinking right now they're going to struggle a lot without them. FC Kansas City, they looked great. Hagen looked great going forward. Shea Groom was taking on players whenever she got the chance. Had a beautiful header goal, so that was real nice. She was real nice to watch. What do you think of the Houston Dash Trout national team? How do you think they'll end up continuing to do, Kristen, for the rest of the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to struggle a little bit this season. I think, Casey has a good thing going on. I'm hopeful for them without their national teams members this season that they'll do well. But Dash, I mean, yes, I love them, but I haven't been too impressed. I don't know. I know last season they struggled quite a bit, so I feel like we might see, more of that this year. So without the national team members.
I just don't think the Dash have a really great team chemistry going on. And I think they were relying on some young players initially when that team started, especially Ohai, who in her rookie season wasn't terribly impressive. This year she has stepped up a little bit more through these first couple games. She's a little more noticeable on the field, but they still have a lot of work ahead of them if they want to even make the playoffs, which I don't even. It's still early in the season, so I don't want to count anyone out, obviously, but I just don't see it going for that team yet.
Graham, what do you think? Do you think Houston still would have any type of chance of making the playoffs, really, or is it going to be a struggle?
From what I've seen this season so far, it's going to be a long stretch. Like I said, I don't want to rule them out, but the odds I would say are definitely going to be against them, especially with they're such a fresh club, and I think they're still trying to find what kind of style of play that they're trying. Are they going for possession, offensive, defensive? I don't think they know that quite yet. So, and I mean that all comes with time. So, as far as playoffs this year, I would say no. But down couple seasons out yet, who knows? They could be a very well contending team and club to play against once they kind of figure the kind of style that they want to play.
And I think bringing in Carly Lloyd and Morgan Bryan, two strong center midfielders, really helped them find a style of play. Even if it was for only briefly, you saw everything. Yeah, it was working for them. And you saw everything channel through the middle of the field. Everything was going through Lloyd and Bryan. And so for a while they had a style, but without those two dominant center midfielders, both, on fire lately, playing huge roles for their country and club, it's going to be hard for them to maintain a consistent style of play throughout the season.
Yeah, because like you said, every game that I watched of Houston, it was pretty much Carly Lloyd and Morgan Bryan moving the team forward every time or advancing the attack, and without them, it's just going to be a complete struggle. I mean, I think it's expectations for them, but now I see without those national teamers, they almost look like they did last year, and it's going to be a rough little stretch for them. So
Mhm.
I hope Houston can get it going or can figure out something because they were like fun to watch to start off the season a little bit. Moving forward, the Flash versus the Boston Breakers, that game ended in a 3-1 Flash victory. These are two teams in which we both consider to be near the bottom of the league. The Flash really impressed me this game, even if it was against the Breakers. They really had a good game. What do you guys think about the Flash or Breakers? I guess we'll start with you, Jack. Did you consider them two of the teams that would finish lower in the league, in the table?
Um, Washington Flash are a little more of a question mark to me at times. Boston Breakers, unfortunately, are sitting at the bottom of the field for me. They just have nothing going for them in terms of any players on any line. And I hate to say that about the Boston Breakers. They're a good club, a good organization, but right now they just have nothing working for them at the moment. The Flash, like I said, a little bit more of a question mark. You're never quite sure what you're going to get out of them. It was interesting, obviously, to see that major trade and bringing in Sydney LaRue over. And unfortunately, she hasn't been an initial offensive spark. She just scored her first goal for that club yesterday. I was hoping she would get a kick for the Flash a little bit sooner in the season. So to put them in a better place heading off to this break for the national players. But unfortunately, they just haven't gotten, like I said, a consistent play so far. So, again, they're kind of a question mark. Who knows what we'll get out of them this season. We could see some players step up for them. But at the moment, I wouldn't count them out of anything.
Krista, how do you view Boston? Do you think this will be a trend for them losing a lot of games going forward, even though they're going to have most of their whole team there without Alyssa and Aaron?
Yeah, I think they're, struggling a lot this year, which, it's been mentioned. And yeah, I mean, I was definitely, impressed by the Flash with that. Let's see, next week they take on Casey, so I think that'll be a good, good look at how the Flash are gonna be in the league without the national team members. So it'll be a good first little peek at what's kind of expect out of the Flash, coming up without the national team members next week. So.
Yeah, even without Sid really, I guess, being, could we say, a huge impact, they had players like that were going to be there for a while, like Sam Mewis looked really impressive yesterday. They used her height and she had a great header and stuff like that. Or Edmonds and a lot of them. The players that are going to be there did look good, but it really is going to depend on how they look against the rest of the league. So I'm waiting to see what the Flash look like against a team like FC Kansas City, as you said. Is Graham still there? If he is, I will ask him a question. No, he is not. What do you feel about, what was the other team I was talking about right there? Boston? I think we did Boston and we did the Flash. So.
Yeah, I think we're on to we're all looking forward to this week. Unfortunately, Graham disappeared on us right before we got to the good stuff.
Right. I guess I will move on. That's kind of 3 before we're right there. Okay, there you go.
Oh, there he is. Technical difficulties, folks.
Oh, it always happens. I'm so used to it. During this time, it will be the shout-outs. No, I'm joking, guys. We'll usually wait for that. Yeah, the self-plugs. Oh, actually, there is something I want to plug. There's, on someone, I forgot her Twitter name exactly, but you can search her, Jackie Porter, on Twitter. She has a real good page with a lot of her writings and stuff about the national team. She wrote an article on Press that I posted on Facebook that everyone seemed to love. You guys get to support her on Twitter and check out some of her articles. She's a writer. She writes a lot of soccer articles, and give her some love and tell her what you think. Graham, are you still with us? All right. Well, at least figuring that out, we'll just move on to the Chicago Red Stars or Sky Blue because I think we've talked enough. Oh yeah, with Boston Breakers, actually, I can mention this. I've been really impressed with McCaffrey. I don't know if you guys have, but it seems like she's involved in everything they do usually going forward. But McCaffrey has really impressed me. Have you gotten to see a lot of her, Jack, McCaffrey? Or?
Just a little bit. One goal on the season so far for McCaffrey, but you're right, she is contributing throughout the field. And I think she's one of those underrated players just a little bit,
Mhm.
but you have to keep an eye on her because if anyone's going to carry this Boston team in any way, it will be her, number 9 up top, Stephanie McCaffrey. Hopefully distributing the ball and working the entire field really, because I don't know how much else who else she has to help her trying to carry this Boston Breakers team. Unfortunately, they really don't have anyone else going for them. They have Christy Mewis, whose play is kind of tapered off for me a little bit in the midfield. Morgan Marlborough, who's a forward, rookie last year. I know she was acquired from FCKC. She did good things in college up top, and they're hoping to see a little more productivity from her up front. Only 1 goal so far this season. So hopefully Marlborough can get some more minutes, get some more experience, and try to form some type of partnership and chemistry up top and get them some goals this season. They only have 4, I guess a goal a game isn't terrible, but they got to get something going for them, and maybe a young gun like Marlborough can ignite that team with the help of McCaffrey.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Graham is back. I sent him another link just to make sure. He said he got dropped, guys. You all right? Welcome back, Graham.
Yeah.
Well, we voted him off
Hey,
of the island, apparently.
Well, told me it was like Survivor. The weakest link or bandwidth, one of the two.
The weakest link right there. So I guess you really didn't want to talk Flash versus Boston Breakers. So the Flash fans, a lot of them attacked us because of where we said they were going to finish. So now here's your chance to be hated by them too, Graham. What did you think of the Flash and Boston Breakers this week?
I think I'm gonna give Boston the benefit of the doubt. Actually, I do think that they have the players. I think they're gonna be a bit of a dark horse come towards the end of the season. Their record is a losing one right now. They're at the bottom. I'm not trying to get praise from the fans, but I definitely feel that they have something to prove, and I bet they're feeling that as well. It'll be interesting. I kind of, I don't know. I feel like they know what they want to do. It's going to be putting it into action this year. I don't know. So, I just have a feeling Boston's going to do something this year, and it's going to be out of nowhere. So I could be wrong, but.
And what player have you been impressed with the most on that team? Because we were talking about McCaffrey, because that's who's impressed me so far.
I agree 100%.
Yep. Well, I think Graham just endeared himself to all the Boston Breaker fans that have ever watched this show. They're like, wow, someone really likes us now.
Well, to give, like you said, to give Boston the benefit of the doubt, they are a team with, I believe, only 1 international player that will be departing for the World Cup, if I'm correct. So they could be a team that they're not losing anyone. So they may be able to take advantage of teams that depend on that core of international players. They're not losing anyone, so that team chemistry they have, may be able to carry over into these next couple weeks.
The opportunity to exploit those weak points that in the other team's chemistry, being that they're only losing that one. It's Mewis, correct?
No, for
Boston.
For Boston, no, they will be losing.
Just Nair, right?
Nair, yeah.
Nair. Okay. Yeah.
So,
what's that, Krista?
Kidding. Nothing. Ignore me.
Okay.
But actually, that was the same argument that the Flash fans made, and it was a good argument actually, because I was just like, yeah, that's true. You guys aren't really losing anyone. It was like, and we're a young team, so we'll get the chance to have chemistry, and then whenever we're going pretty good, we'll get overwhelmed by talent.
And you talk about a young team that Western New York Flash is, and they are, and I think someone that can really be a star player for them going forward is Samantha Mewis, who they acquired this year in the draft. I think she can really be a star in that team and lead that team forward. Midfielder, so a lot of things are working through her. Again, they were unable to get some things going for them early in the season, with LaRue especially. But I think Mewis will be someone that can step up over the next couple seasons for the Flash and provide a really steady, consistent pillar for them to play the ball through.
Eyes
I
are
can
down.
agree with that. Agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that. I think she's going to be the one. And when she scored that goal, she looked so confident afterward. It was just like, oh, some weight was lifted off her shoulders. She looked real good on the ball and stuff. But let's move on to your team, Chicago people, stand up. Chicago Red Stars versus the team that was selected by the fans for me, and I actually liked them, Sky Blue. Sky Blue lost again, 1-0.
They didn't have the national team players. So
Yeah, I know. I'll use it like Pacquiao on the
pat on the
shoulder.
back.
It was my shoulder. That's why. That's why we lost. Let's start with you, Graham. What did you see out there with Chicago Red Stars versus Sky Blue?
It was exciting to see there were a lot of the youth on the team that they just drafted. Calfrico got her start and got her goal. Cara Wells made an appearance later in the game. And Puerta had a couple of opportunities as well. I'm really excited to see the play going forward this season with the new kids. They're, like I said earlier, the way Rory went out and did the draft, he fit the roles with the kids that are really going to fill in well with the team. And the ball movement in the 2 games already have 3 games.
3
Yeah.
games. They didn't play the opening week.
Yep. So the ball movement and the chemistry with the team is kind of awe-inspiring possession-wise right now. They're really dominating possession of the ball, I think. And the diagonal balls that have been, like we said earlier, they're feeding Kristen really well and giving her those opportunities to have the back-to-back brace games. And she even had a couple of chances last night where she uncharacteristically didn't finish.
She had a lot of chances last night.
Yeah.
And they were from all spots that she scored from in the previous games. So it was surprising not to see her finish on those. But I'm really excited to see the Red Stars this season. I definitely think the team talent runs deep, and I think they're going to have a really good run at the playoffs, if not a championship squad. So
Nice. Jack, what do you think of your Chicago Red Stars?
Oh, I don't want to comment too much on the Red Stars. That's our team of the week, and we'll definitely be talking more about them later. We have a lot of things to talk about with them. Me and Graham are going to have fun talking about them for sure today. Going to Sky Blue FC, roll the eyes there.
where's the love?
They just have no offense at the moment, unfortunately. Like you said, though, they are missing those international players who could definitely help out. They haven't had their Australian duo of Caitlin Ford and Sam Kerr. Sam Kerr could definitely help them out going forward. So, especially on the offensive side of the ball. So, who knows what we'll get out of them after the World Cup is over. Right now, you got to hope for the best for that team. Hopefully they can stay strong defensively, and maybe that will get them through these next couple weeks, because I just don't think they're going to have any offense.
Exactly. It looks like to me just a lot of the Sky Blue fans were telling me that they figured out Nadia and Nadim. I'm like, well, they can't even get her the ball first off. It's just like there's nothing going. They just look so confusing and so bad at times to watch. And I'm just keep hoping because Katie Friels, she scored a goal here and there, but I'm like, you can't keep winning or depending on just getting one goal and surviving because these teams, Houston Dash, they had about 19 shots in that one game against them, and it was a game that they just held on. Then the next game, against Preston just got shots everywhere where, like you said, Graham, she was scoring previously. I was like, they're going to lose again. I knew they were going to lose, and it was just, it's rough right now. So, I don't know. Forward. So.
What I noticed at the game yesterday is the moment. I mean, I guess this can go for anything, but they lose their composure a little bit, and then they get flustered in that they can't maintain that get that composure back, and that's what's really been kind of the crack in their armor, in my opinion. I mean, the confidence level, the talent level, it's all there with that team. And they definitely showed it during the second half of the first half, in the last probably 10 minutes, uh, before that goal came through. So, and obviously they held them to nothing the second. So, uh, it was interesting. I definitely see them doing things and making moves this season. It's just a little bit of a slow start for them.
And I think what's going to carry them, like I said, is that defense. They're going to kind of just have to, unfortunately, bunker down. And you saw that yesterday against the Red Stars. They had to just depend on that defense to get them through those difficult times and those raining shots of Christian press that were just coming in constantly. And you got to hope for the best. Hope Brittany Cameron can get you some big saves every game because she's going to need to come up big. And you did see some bouts of possession for Sky Blue FC yesterday, but like you said, they get a little uncomposed when the pressure is put on them, and they don't move that possession up the field very well. They don't really get into the attacking third that often with good possession and good attacking opportunities. They do create some, feels like you said, can be potent in front of net at times. 2 goals on the season for her so far. But they got to remain composed in the midfield and moving forward, try and just be more consistent in that final third.
Yeah, because there was times in the game where it was just they started to lob and pray, as I always call it. And then when they did have possession after they got rattled, it was possession with no intent. They would have the ball and didn't look like they knew what they wanted to do. Hayes and Nadim really just no service, and it looked like I think an 86th minute was our best opportunity in front of goal. So I mean, it's been rough. It's really. Krista, what have you thought of Sky Blue and I guess Chicago so far this season?
Yeah, Sky Blue is just they've been struggling. I feel like every year they struggle just a lot. They just struggle bus it constantly. So hopefully I don't really know what needs to happen with them. I think they had one shot on goal maybe throughout the entire night, maybe 2. But from the highlights, all I saw was that one and towards the late 80s. I don't know, 80th minute, somewhere around there. But yeah, Chicago definitely looked good. They looked strong. And yeah, it'll be a team that will be, again, will be interesting to see without the national team members because I do think there's a lot of potential there. It was good to see Calipari go out there and, I don't know. So I'm not sure who they play next week. But I'll have to catch that one and yeah.
I believe they play Seattle next week.
Oh.
Could be wrong, but I believe it's Seattle next week, which is going to be tough. Like you said, if they get over these next couple weeks, they come back and they'll be stout defensively with Christy Rampone and Caitlin Ford in the back, 2 great defenders. Opposites on the age spectrum, obviously, but they both bring great things to that back line. Kelly O'Hara, who can play anywhere on that field. But what they need to get, and probably won't be able to get until this off season, is a power striker, someone that can ignite up top and do a little bit of everything. Honestly, they'll need a forward that can both score goals and make some great plays up front. That's what they're going to need to work on this coming off season. Well, obviously, we're only a couple weeks into this season, but they're going to have to keep that in mind going forward.
Well, Sky Blue, it's going to be a long season. Oh, yeah, in a couple weeks we do your spotlight, so stay tuned.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said, Dwayne, with the lob and pray, it's something I noticed as well, being behind goal with Cameron. They like to play the ball short and work it up the field, and more as the game progressed, and especially after conceding the goal in the second half, they started booting it downfield and kind of hoping to get it to a head or to a foot of their team, and it was not working to their benefit at all. Every time they sent it downfield, it would appear that the Red Stars got a body on it or stopped all forward progress from it. And that goes to show for the depth of the Red Stars defense, but I definitely think they need to stick with what they know and working it up the field, whether that be short pass off the goal box, work it up the sideline, work it up the middle. But that was definitely something that I saw where they definitely changed come second half after conceding that goal.
Yep. Yeah, it was like that was plan B, and I hated plan B because I was like, this really isn't working. You really should scrap this and go to plan C right now. So it was rough, but let's move on. I'm depressed. And now I have to talk about the team who beat us yesterday, Chicago Red Stars. All right, guys, so I'm going to do the history as I always do, and then we'll jump into it and review the team. Let's start with 2006. This team actually has history. So, in 2006, it was announced that Chicago would have a team in a new league being developed for women's professional soccer. It eventually joined 6 other teams for a league that would be starting in 2009. So they had the concept, and then I guess it started in 2009. After a successful 2010, the team left the WPS on December 13th, unable to meet the league's funding requirements for the 2011 season. Red Stars joined the Women's Premier Soccer League for 2011. They played their home games at Village Lyle Benedict University Sports Complex in West Suburban Chicago. Red Stars finished the regular season with a 10-1 record, hosted the playoff semifinals and championship matches, lost to Orange County Waves in the final. In 2012, Red Stars
was on the team at that time too.
What's that now?
Megan Rapinoe was on the team back in those days too.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
we're going way back. There you go. That's a fun fact for you guys to take home. In 2012, Red Stars joined 2 other WPS clubs, Boston Breakers and Western New York Flash, in the WPSL Elite League. Finished 4th in that league and lost to the Flash in the playoffs. November 2012, were named one of the sides that would join the NWSL, and as you know, the rest is history. Last season, the team had what I considered a really great, strong, I guess, second half of the season once Press joined them, and they were a very interesting to watch. It was one of my favorite teams to watch in the league because Press really added a unique element to the side when she joined. So let's look at the team's overall performance last year, guys. We will start with you, Graham. How you felt the team performed last season?
It was a slow start out the gate, but they had a very tough last push for the playoffs and a disappointing knockout of them with a tiebreaker. I definitely think that they kind of have a chip on the shoulder from that last year. But with the introduction of Press, like you said, picked up the overall pace and chemistry of the team. She really helped mold them together and really get that last couple game push for their playoff run, even though it did not turn out that way.
Yeah, she really made a huge impact. It was amazing to see how she dropped right into the team. It was just kind of like, wow, that was something they really needed. So it was fun to watch her.
A lot of credit to Karina LeBlanc, too. The team as a whole, the whole back defensive line, least amount of goals allowed in the league. So it was definitely a team effort. It wasn't just one person, but it definitely lit a fire under them with the addition of Press. And it really, it gave them that push. It may have been a little bit too late, but it's definitely carrying through to this season, and we see that. So.
And you're right about that defense. 26 goals allowed last season. That was absolutely amazing. So it showed they had a great defensive scheme that they were using. Jack, how do you feel about the team overall's performance last season?
I think for me, the Chicago Red Stars have always just been an unfortunately unlucky team. Even going back to their first season when they really didn't get drafted or allocated a national team player that could play for them right out of the gate. And then, like I said, it's just unfortunately been that unlucky team each season. You talked about them getting knocked out of that tiebreaker so close, but just couldn't make it. In terms of their play last season, you guys said it. I've never seen a player come in and affect a club so immediately and in such a big way as Christian Press did for the Chicago Red Star team. The Chicago Red Stars have never had a go-to striker for that team. They were really missing that. They had the other components. They had a great goalkeeper, obviously in Karina LeBlanc. They had the defense working for them, especially with the drafting of Julie Johnston. They had a solid midfield, Lori Kolupny, Vanessa DeBarnio. So they were the only piece of the puzzle that was missing was that potent striker, and they definitely got that out of Christian Press, whose play definitely improved the Chicago Red Stars on the offensive side of the ball last season, and obviously it's carried over into the opening of the 2015 season.
Yeah, it really has carried over. It seemed like one of those things where we've seen a lot of players right now. It seems like they might have dropped off or they've been figured out. With her, she still just she took off pretty much. That's the best way to put it. Krista, how do you feel about Chicago's overall performance last season?
I think 2013 they did struggle a lot, and then they did get really unlucky with the allocated players and all that. And then I just remember last year halfway through the season just kind of, or getting towards the end of the season just kind of like looking up and being like, holy crap, like how did that happen? Like where did these guys come from all of a sudden? So yeah, they definitely came out of nowhere. It seemed like, at least from my point of view last year. And they definitely had a really impressive run there towards the end. So.
What I found pretty exciting between the Spirit and the Chicago Red Stars fans was watching them interact about that whole playoff race for that final spot. It really got everyone involved and really watching the league even more, it seemed. It was really good for the league, I think. Even though for Chicago Red Star fans they ended up on the wrong side of it, it was good for the league to have such a close playoff race for the final spot like that. So that was fun to watch.
There's going back to what Jackie said with the unluckiness of the team, there was a couple of goals that were decisive goals in games that were called back due to the actual goal. It would popped in the goal and hopped back out the way the goal post and the goal itself was designed. They removed it for this year, but they had 2 goals to call back that were decisive in some of the games, which would have pushed them through had they gotten those points. So.
And even something like that weather delay that they had against the Washington Spirit, that was a great game for the Chicago Red Stars. They were gaining some momentum, they were building, and then there was that rain delay for weather stoppage, and then they come back from that game, a huge game. Was that the playoff game? Was the weather delay in that playoff game? I'm trying to remember if it was that one or the game before it that was... Well, it was a pretty decisive game, a pretty important game against the Washington Spirit, and they like I said, they were building momentum throughout the game, and you felt it come for the Red Stars. And then there was an unfortunate weather delay that took away all their momentum. Just an unfortunate team so far, but maybe this year will be their year.
Very good, very good. Well, we're looking forward to. I think they're going to make a push for the playoff, but we'll make that prediction a little bit later on. The introduction of Christian Press, I guess we touched that a lot. Does anyone even want to say any more about her? Like I said, so impressive. and the weird part about this team was that it was a spark they needed because the team finished 7th in the league in goals scored. They scored 32 goals last season. So it's like, imagine if they would have had her to start the season, how many goals they could have scored. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would have been really good, but we all praise her enough. I guess we could move on to players out in our mind, or some players that might not have stood out as much because of injury or something else. Jack, what are some players that stood out to you last year for the Chicago Red Stars?
Well, last year I know that I was really looking forward to Taryn Hemmings playing, and unfortunately she had that ACL tear that kept her sidelined last season, but I was so looking forward to her because she's such a great player in the back for the Red Stars. Can really get up the sideline, up the right flank where she usually plays, and get some good crosses into the box. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see her play last season, but someone that I guess stepped up for me in some ways was Leon, the Canadian player, the Canadian forward, sometimes midfielder. She's an underrated player up front for me, and we got to see her a little bit last season, and she kind of provided an offensive spark at times, more of an outside forward. I loved watching her play, and I will continue to love watching her play in the World Cup this year. Really looking forward to her. Someone else that I think I enjoy watching is Michelle Winino. Now changed her name to, I believe it's
Necky.
Lomnecki.
Oh.
There you go. Couldn't say it. She's always a consistent player for the Chicago Red Stars on defense. And I guess the last person I would say is Alyssa Motts, who you never know what you're going to get out of her, but when she's on fire, you got to look out for her at times. She can be a force to be reckoned with in the midfield and up top, and can sometimes surprise you with how skillful she can be.
Graham, who are some Chicago Red Star players that stood out to you last year?
My first choice has to be the Rookie of the Year, Julie Johnston. Obviously, not much more needs to be said about that. But let's see, who else? Jen Hoy. Jen Hoy is also one of those players, along like you said with Motts. When she's on, she's on. And it's really impressive to see. I'm really excited to see how Jen Hoy is going to grow under Kristen Press, having that having a striker of Press's caliber to kind of study under is going to be very interesting. And then another player, I guess, would say Abby Ursig, kind of the pride and joy of that back defensive line, along with Julie Johnston, 6-foot New Zealander that's just a tower back there, knows how to shut people down. It's very, very interesting. So,
How do you think, Graham, how do you think the relationship between Jen Hoy and Christian Press is at the moment? Christian Press is out scoring a lot of goals. Jen Hoy, I believe, has a goal. No, she has one goal this season.
Yep.
And it was in that first game against Seattle. But how do you see their chemistry right now?
I would say it's good. They're connecting passes. That the stoppage time winner was actually a flick off of Jen Hoy to Kristen Press, and Jen Hoy's goal was also an assist off of Press. So, I mean, they know how to communicate. They know where each other's gonna be. It just depends what day and I guess how they're playing that day, because they definitely have the caliber. They're very dangerous up front together, in my opinion.
I've noticed that early on too, though. You're right about this. Sorry to cut you off, but I've noticed that. It seems like Jen Hoy and Kristen Press play off of each other really well. One's assisting the other, and they're both making runs, and they just know where each other's at. So I think that she will really benefit from playing their press. It seems like a great combination they have right there with Chicago.
Yeah.
And let's see who. Oh, well, I didn't get to do mine, I guess. Oh, it's my turn. The player that I have to praise, just because she never gets praised any other place, is Chalupny. It seems like she's a consistent player when she's playing in the right position.
I mean, she's the captain for a reason. She, not to cut you off.
No, you're good.
I'm really, really, really happy that Ellis called her up for the World Cup this year. She wasn't able to be called up on national teams for about 5 years due to injury and concussion problems and everything. So the fact that she's been able to deal with that adversity and still get back on the team and recognition is huge. So I agree with you, not to be overlooked by any means. She is a solid player, and she will take it to you any day of the week.
Commenting on Chalupny, where do you think her best position is on the field? For the national team, she tends to play left outside back, where she's been criticized a little bit for getting burned and allowing a couple goals for sometimes being out of position, sometimes a little slow and letting players get in behind her. For the Chicago Red Stars, she obviously plays a center midfielder, both contributes on the offensive and defensive side of the ball. But what do you guys think is her prime position?
You can go first, Graham.
Okay.
Sure,
I definitely see that center midfielder position is her bread and butter. Being back at that left flank, though, I feel like she has taken a lot of hits and ridicule for being burned, but she has also done a lot of good work back there as well. She has down the corners sometimes. I think people are focusing a lot on the failures, being that they have given up some goals, but she has done a lot of good back there too. I guess that would be my 2 cents.
It's like I feel like with her, if she was playing in that central mid position for us, oh, it would be great for the national team. Probably sitting back in a center defensive mid role and letting the girls just go play kind of in front of her and doing their thing. That'd be great. What people I think really, well, what is really, I guess, hurting her for the fact is she is a center mid trying to learn left back against top class competition and going to have to go against top class competition. So it's going to be rough naturally, as we saw with France, where everyone just ripped her apart for that and stuff. But it's like, what do you expect? You put someone in that role that hasn't been on a national level for these many years to play a position that's not their natural position, and then to go up against, like I said, some of the best players in the world. That's going to happen, and it's scary. Yeah. So I mean, it's just really just one of those things you can break down just common sense or logic.
Her and Bruin seem to be building a lot of chemistry and a relationship back there on that back line, which is huge. I mean, Bruin is arguably the best defensive player in the world. So, again, having the opportunity to play alongside, not to say under her wing, but to grow with that and to have the confidence knowing that she's there by your side is going to be huge going into this World Cup.
And like you talked about playing, well, like we talked about earlier, you know, you said that she sometimes is criticized and hasn't been praised for some of the good things she's done. And some of those good things is getting up into the attack and scoring some pretty impressive goals for the national team. I think that comes from the fact that she does play a center midfielder role for the Red Stars, where she's used to getting up into the attack and providing a little bit more on the offensive side of the ball. So that translates to the national team where when she plays flank, she can get up into the attack a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think she probably is more comfortable when she does advance for it like that, like you said, on the left back. But probably the tracking back, she's really struggling with a lot more against such. She's going up against fast wingers most of the time, and it's just like most of the time they're gonna beat her, burn her maybe, you know. So it's gonna be rough for her. I don't think I see her starting at that position. I think they're gonna start Kling, if that's my guess. But if they do play her, they better be selective of which team they play her against at that left back position. Personally, I wish she would have played in center mid, because I think she played one game in center mid in a friendly and she looked pretty good. I was like, wow, she's playing her right position. No wonder. So, you know, that would be best, but we can only wish. And fishes are all the same. There's a ton of them. Moving on, guys. Oh, yeah, also there's a player I wanted to mention, actually, that I wanted to ask you guys more about. I didn't think her name's Rachel Kwan. She seemed like, when I read, like, for the Chicago Red Stars, it says she played a ton of minutes. What do you guys feel about her? We'll start with you, Jack.
She's a great defensive player for the Red Stars, and she was a big help in that initial season in 2013. She got a fair amount of minutes in that inaugural season, particularly at right back. She played. She usually plays on one of the outside backs. I think she played a little more right back than left. Canadian national team member, has had a couple call-ups. Did not make the squad this year, unfortunately. So hopefully that will help her get some more minutes for the Red Stars. And she has some experience. Like I said, she brings international experience. She does have previous club experience. So hopefully she can really help out this Red Stars team once this break is coming up for the big international stars. She doesn't provide much on the side of offense. She can work up the flanks a little bit, but doesn't really get involved in the attack so much. Prefers to sit back a little bit more from what I've seen of her. But she's a solid defender.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, because, I mean, anytime it's a lot of these players, and I'll read up a lot about them and where they play, and then if you see these players, usually something stands out, tons of minutes, they must have been doing something right. A lot of these defenders, they're out there most of the games, they're playing all the games. Do you have an opinion on Rachel Kwan, Graham?
She's just one of those players that's been there almost day one with the Red Stars. She has a lot of experience with them. She knows the team well, and she plays off of that knowledge big time. Like Jackie said, amazing defensive player. And outside the game aspect, one of the big things I've noticed about her is she's acclimated to the Chicago weather and the Midwest weather, being that it can be 80 degrees one week and 40 degrees the absolute next, and that shakes up some of the players, especially like uh, players like Kristen Press or Julie Johnson, who are coming from very warm states, being California and Arizona. I know Sofia Huerta was dealing with it a little bit during the inter-squad matchup preseason with the team. There was freezing rain and gusting wind, so that definitely goes into play, but it doesn't seem to shake Kwan's style of play or what she produces out on the pitch.
Always dependable, I would say.
Yep.
That's just a normal day for us in the Midwest, freezing
Yeah.
rain and snow, and then it turns 90 degrees and we're out there in shorts. So, I mean, we're used to that, right?
60 degrees, we're out there in shorts.
All right, guys, moving on. Let's talk about some new players that we expect to have made. For Red Stars, it looks like it's going to be a lot of the rookies or players that might not played a lot of time. I guess we can start with, like you said, Colapricio is one of the highly rated rookies from University. Yep, from University of Virginia. We will start with you, Graham. What do you think about her?
Colaprico obviously getting her first professional goal last night. I'm really excited to see what she's going to bring this season. She shows a grind to really she doesn't give up the ball easily. A lot of confidence on the ball, especially when she took the shot and it initially went off of JJ's head. It didn't shake her. It didn't shake her confidence. It came right back to her, and she put her left foot to it and curled it upper 90. Beautifully placed shot, which is giving me a lot of encouragement going forward for her this season. Just the confidence on the ball and shooting from that range, and being able to place it the way she does. She's going to be a very good fit for this team.
How do you feel about her, Jack?
I think he said it all. Personally, I'm more excited to see Erin Gilliland. I think she is was a little overlooked, but she can provide a lot. She's a defensive player, taken 8th overall by the Chicago Red Stars in this year's draft out of the University of Kentucky. But reading up on her a little bit more, and though she's a defender, she can get up into the offensive attack. When I'm always impressed when a defender can do that. And with the departure of Julie Johnston and Abby Ursag, we may be seeing her a little bit more on the back line, getting a fair few more minutes. And hopefully, like Julie Johnston, she can get up and work the ball up the field. And not only score goals, but can set up plays for her teammates around her. For the Chicago Red Stars, this season, we've seen them work a little bit more on their possession, and slowly they've been building out of the back a little bit more. Sometimes they do chip and chase and let Christian Press run onto balls. But they are getting a little bit better at working out of the back, playing it to the flanks, and then coming back to the middle. And hopefully that play can start with Gillian.
Yeah, about her, like you were saying, I'm reading up on her stats, and I was just seeing all those goals. I was like, wait a moment, what's your position again? And it was like a defender. I was like, wow, she really scored a lot of goals, and she was a Mac Herman Jr. And in her junior year finalist for the award. Yeah, and I was just like, wow, she was really good, and it seemed like not a lot of people mentioned her too much or talked about her, so I think she's going to be a real surprise. And going back to Colapricio, she was the all-time leader in assists for University of Virginia, so she's very comfortable in the ball to probably pick out a pass. 19 her senior year, so it's just like these players. I'm guessing he's picking all the players that fit into that he wanted are real comfortable in the ball, that can play, I guess, a certain type of style, and he knows what he's trying to do, and that's good. I mean, that's how you build a team. You don't have to get the best player, but the player that fits your style, and that's the perfect way to go about it. So.
I think the Chicago Red Stars have unarguably been the draft winners for the last 2 seasons. That inaugural season, unfortunately, their number 1 overall selection in Zakiya Bywaters has not panned out in any way. Has been constantly plagued by injuries these past 3 seasons, really, and has not provided anything really for the Chicago Red Stars. But their last 2 draft classes have been incredible. Such a great job drafting these rookies and players that they can really just plug right into their system and get a good performance out of.
Yeah, because isn't Bywater's out right now with a hip injury or something like that, a
Yeah.
season-ending one? So it's just like,
Mhm.
wow, that's amazing. But they did really good drafting this year, and I think that's going to help them a lot because these players are going to get major play time. They already look good as a side, so I think, that, like I said, we've seen some of them already plugged in. They look really good. What players are you guys expecting to have a great season? Do you think some of these rookies are just some players like that probably are going to stay home, I guess, from the World Cup? Do you have like anyone in mind in particular? We'll start with you, Graham.
I'm excited to see the two rookies being Kara Walls up front to kind of fill that position with Press being gone and Sofia Huerta getting some more minutes. They're looking great. Cara still, I think she's looking for that confidence. She had a couple opportunities yesterday she didn't capitalize on, but she led the Badgers in a very impressive season last year, uh, and I'm expecting big things from her this season for sure.
Jack, who are you looking forward to this year? You think is going to have a good season?
DiBernardo.
Yep.
I think it might sound a little bit weird. She, to me, is a young Lori Kolupny.
Okay.
And obviously working with Lori Kolupny, working under her wing, essentially, she's picking up a lot of the same tendencies, I feel, as Lori Kolupny. She's just so solid in the midfield, especially on the offensive side of the ball, very composed on the ball, makes those right passes to get a play going. Not huge in goal scoring, but as a center midfielder, you got to think she's right up there with some of the best, working her way up there with some of the best center midfielders in the league at the moment. Someone I'm always excited to watch is Taryn Hemmings. We talked a little bit about her earlier. She's great getting up the right flank, making some good passes into the box, getting those diagonal balls to Christian Press. So I'd say those two players, I think, can definitely step up with the absence of those big names and hopefully provide, consistent play for the Chicago Red Stars.
With DiBernardo, as you were saying, I felt like she's kind of unsung the last couple of games because to me, when I've seen her, I'm like, oh, she looks really solid in there and is helping move the play along. And, like I said, it looks like a great center mid in the Kolupny type of point of view. And I guess that can be forgotten or overlooked because it's not as flashy type of player or something to stand out. But I thought of her as really looking like she's going to have a great season this year. Also, I think Jin Hoy, as we've already mentioned, now she'll really get her chance to shine and see. We'll see if she can actually continue to do this without Press alongside her. I'm hoping she can still move along top with her. But, yeah, Bernardo, definitely. It was just so weird. No one really mentioned her when asking all that questions. I remember one guy on Twitter mentioned her when we asked the question of the day, but everyone else was kind of just like, oh, I want to see the rookies and so forth. So that's good.
I would say an unsung hero. She's always the go-to for corners. She really has the talent of placing a ball. She can be a little wishy-washy with it at times, but she was the one who placed that ball for Calprico to get a foot on it in the goal yesterday. Crossed it into Box. Box got her head on it a couple of times, got it to Calprico, and they got the goal.
Off Julie Johnston's head and then in the goal.
Julie Johnston's most painful. But they got the goal.
That's all that matters, as long as you get in the back of the net, right? Oh, yeah, and also about DiBernardo, they said that she was last season foremost part of the season recovering knee injury. So you think this year, I guess we'll go with you, Graham, that she'll, I guess, be more fresh or just more in form this season coming into the season?
Yeah, she's looking to impress, and she's going to be building off of lost time that she had last season for sure. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm a broken record here, but I'm
It's all right.
going to bring to the team. Like I said, with those set pieces, she can only improve, and they're right up there. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know. I feel like it's a player that people should really start to pay more attention to. If you haven't, guys, definitely look out for her more in the field. Other than that, now, guys, let's just give our outlook on 2015 with the team. Always tell people you can do it without national teamers or just overall outlook. We will start with you first, Jack.
I'm so excited for the Red Stars this year. They've put themselves in a great position these first 4 games. Two wins, no losses in their first 3 games. Some pretty good score lines too. 3 goals against Seattle, 2 against Portland. Unfortunately, only 1 yesterday where I felt but they definitely could have gotten a lot more with several chances. And a lot of those, as we've talked about, have come from a dominant Christian Press up top who's just firing shots at the net. No one's been able to contain her. Outlook for this season, I could see them going all the way, to be quite honest with you. I think they're a team that, with or without their national team players, they're going to be good and they're going to be solid. I think for the Chicago Red Stars, going back to what I said earlier, they're an unfortunately unlucky team. For me, the Chicago Red Stars were able to adapt those first couple seasons, even when they didn't start off well, and eventually figured things out, and they became a good team. Not a great team, but a good, solid team. With the addition of Julie Johnston, Abby Erceg, and Christian Press, those 3 players have taken them to this team to a whole nother level, where they're not just a good team, a middle-of-the-pack team anymore. They're a top-flight team in this league for me. Now, without those 3 players, we'll see what happens. I think they can still be a good team, as we've talked about before. They may not be as potent in front of net on the attacking side of the ball, but they have experience on all 3 lines. They have some really great rookies that can add a spark. I think their outlook for the season is going to be pretty good, and especially if they can maintain a solid record through these next couple weeks and they get their international players back, I don't see anyone being able to stop them so far. These next couple weeks are fortunately lucky for them. They play FC Casey and Seattle Reign coming up within the next 2 weeks, I believe. Then after that, 2 games against the Boston Breakers, 2 games against the Houston Dash, 2 games against, I believe, the Washington Spirit as well. I don't want to say those are easier teams, but maybe teams that you aren't concerned about as much as a Seattle Reign or a FC Casey. So if they can maintain a solid record through the absence of their international players, I think this team is going to be set for a good playoff run.
Definitely agree with that. Graham, go for it. How do you feel the outlook for this year should be for the Chicago Red Stars?
Playing off of her finishing remarks, I definitely feel like we hit the jackpot schedule-wise this year with the talent that we are putting on the field. One person I forgot to mention, Michelle Dalton, who's going to be stepping into goal in the absence of Karina LeBlanc, the newly signed second-hand goalkeeper. Is going to play a huge role. She looked very strong playing preseason, allowing 0 goals. So she's going to play a huge role this season. I definitely see a deep run in the playoffs this year. They've put themselves in an amazing position with the numbers that they're putting up, and especially, no offense, but with the Sky Blue shutout, that's going to be good to carry through. They're in a good position to go deep this year, and they definitely have a championship caliber team.
Yeah, well, like looking at them, you can just tell that it's really built like a championship side with everything that they have. They just look so comfortable as a team, and when you're watching them, you know what they're going to do. The other team probably knows they're going to do. It's just so fast out there. I mean, everything about them has been really enjoyable to watch. Like I said, they're passing, they're playing down the flanks, they're getting service to whoever's playing forward. I guess like someone was press when she would get the ball, she was playing off of other forwards well. The midfielders just seem to know their roles perfectly. Hemmings and Kwan just going up and down, just crossing in balls, and just were looking great. Or just passing it in general looks good. I really enjoyed learning and watching the Chicago Red Stars for the last couple of weeks, and I hope that it continues. For me, like I said, it all depends on what they will do when the national team are gone. If they can just hold, I think they're going to still hold pretty well and win enough games, win enough to stay afloat. They'll do it better, I think, than most teams from the looks of it now. Then
Rory's
once the national
got a
teamers
game
come in,
plan.
what's that,
So
Graham?
Rory's got a game plan, and he knows what he's doing. He's been commanding this team for a number of seasons now, and he knows his players better than anybody. And he's just being in practice conferences and stuff with him. He's confident that they're still going to be able to play with anybody in the league with the national team players gone, which is really reassuring. It's it's going to be interesting. I definitely think we have what it takes, so long as we can avoid those mishaps with the stint of bad lucks. But so is Chicago teams. Um,
It's very
so
true.
we'll just see how it plays out. We'll see how it plays out.
And like Graham, you mentioned, Coach Rory Dames needs to be given a huge pat on the back, huge praise for what he's done with this team over the last couple seasons, that getting them into shape. Like we talked about, they didn't get a great roster that inaugural season. Very few allocated players. I could play right off the bat. Their number one draft pick didn't come through in Sakia Bywaters. So you got to give credit to Rory Dames, who's been a great coach for the Chicago Red Stars team. Looking to this season, in the absence of their international players, you're really taking away international players right down the spine of this team. Karina LeBlanc, Julie Johnson, Abby Erceg, Lori Kolepny, and Christian Press. That is your backbone of that team.
Yep.
But the good thing for Coach Rory Dames and for this team is that they've played without those players before. They've played without those big stars before, and they were just fine. So they can do it again this season.
Yeah, there just seems a comfort level with this team that not that the other teams don't really have. It seems like that even without national teamers, they'll be fine. Like the other team, I guess I felt that way about really was maybe I would say Kansas City and Seattle-ish, but out of the teams where I thought were going to all be fighting for any playoff spot, Chicago seems out of that group looks like the best team to just step up and not have any worries, and we'll be right there in a playoff spot. I see them right there in a playoff spot this year. So no more bad luck for Chicago. You guys are going to be in the playoffs, and once you get in and you got some of your best players, anything can happen. So it should be a good season, I think. Very good, guys. I'm just checking for questions right now to make sure that we're all set and squared off. I usually do the shout-outs at this time. I don't have any Oh, yeah, I do have a few shout-outs, I guess, this week. Do you guys have any shout-outs or anything you want to promote about yourself that you're doing right now? Jack, we can start with you. Got anything to promote? Anyone you want to say hi to?
I say everyone get out to the Chicago Red Stars games. They're going to be looking good this season. They got an upcoming doubleheader against the Chicago Fire this weekend at Bridgeview. So I'd say definitely if you're in the Chicago area, get out and see those teams. Get out and support the league. Chicago Fire going to be a good team to watch. I'm going to be there. Graham will be there. So we hope to see you guys there.
Graham, any say about Chicago before we sign on off?
I'm definitely going to echo her. I mean, the caliber of players and talent that is out on the field is not being reflected in the stands, and these women deserve it more than anybody. Definitely, if you're looking to have some fun and enter into this season, the doubleheader this weekend on the 9th is going to be the way to do it. You're gonna get MLS play between the Fire and Real Salt Lake, and then you're going to get NWSL play between the Red Stars and the Flash. So it's going to be not the
Boston Breakers.
Boston Breakers. Yeah. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be interesting. Yeah. Get out there to the games if you have the opportunity. Do not turn it down.
Come say hi to us. Me and Graham will be there. So you guys recognize us, definitely come say hi.
Also, guys, we do have actually a question from Tumblr. I think we have a little question about Kim Little. So, that to now. Oh, yeah, by the way, guys, Krista had her phone died, so sadly she couldn't be here with us with her creative way how she has her camera. It's like the lights beaming down on her. Okay, the question she said someone asked on Tumblr is, are you guys surprised that Kim Little has not scored yet? We will start with you, Graham, with this question.
Yeah, actually I am. She was such a force to be reckoned with last season up front. Just putting balls in almost effortlessly. And it's continuously doing so throughout the entire season. I don't want to say she's lost that. I don't think it's gone. I just don't think she's been put in the correct positions for her to play her style of play and get those balls back into the net. It will come. I definitely don't think we've seen the last of that very offensive, very aggressive Kim Little.
Jack, how do you feel about Kim Little? Are you shocked she hasn't scored yet?
Yeah, I'm definitely shocked, especially after that performance last season, but it goes back to what we said at the very beginning of the show. Seattle's just been a little inconsistent this year, and that follows with Kim Little as well. Just a little inconsistent in her ability to get in front and finish in front of net. Obviously, it's not like Seattle isn't putting in goals. I believe they probably have more goals than anyone else this season. I haven't added up the totals for them, but obviously 5 in their opening, 2 against the Chicago Red Stars, 3 in this last weekend. So it's not like the Seattle Reign as a team isn't getting goals. It's just not falling for Kim Little at the moment, and I haven't watched a lot of their games so far this season, so I can't comment too much on that. But I would just say, knowing from what I know about her and watching her play last season, probably at the moment she's just not in those positions to score, as Graham said. So I'm sure it'll pick up later in the season. Hopefully Seattle Reign, they'll have to rely on her, so hopefully that play will pick up a little bit without Megan Rapinoe. It's going to have to fall back on Kim Little a little bit. Sorry. But we'll see what happens. I'm sure she and the Seattle Reign will be just fine this season.
What I've noticed a lot with her this year is that every time she touches the ball, naturally they just circle her and make sure she doesn't get any chance to do anything, because naturally last year she had all the time in the world anytime she got the ball and would just make something happen. Also, you know there's going to be a lot of pressure after last season, people expecting to repeat, and I don't think we should expect her to repeat, but still have a high assist and goal total. But I'm guessing a lot of that pressure too, it probably could weigh on any player. But I'm shocked because she missed that penalty kick. I think the first game of the year it was.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that kind of threw me off, and I was like, oh, the pressure's on Kim Little. But other than that, I know the goals are going to come. With like anyone, they might be going through a little goal scoring drought, but for her, a player of that caliber, the goals are going to start coming sooner than later. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. But thank you for the question, unknown person on Tumblr. We do appreciate it. We always love our nons. Other than that, I think that's everything, guys. So I can do my little wrap it up speech, and then we all.
Sweet.
Thank you guys for watching once again. We do appreciate it. If you like what you saw, or if you just want to follow and see some of our other content, because we're going to have a ton of content I think next week it is. I keep saying next week. It's not next week exactly. It's the week after next week when stuff gets crazy. We're going to have about 4 shows in a row within like a 9-day span. So it's going to be chaos. It's going to be absolute chaos, and the promoting is just going to be like, a show's coming out probably the day before. Won't be able to tell you guys, keep it with it. So the best bet, and especially during World Cup time, because I'm going to try to get these guys back on here during the World Cup. Will you guys come on for me? Yeah? No?
I'll be here.
All right. So we're
Definitely.
I'll try to get them on for like that first World Cup like special show when we preview or something. I'll talk to them about that later, because I think they had a good time with them, and there's other people I have in mind, and we'll get it settled. If you like what you saw, subscribe. You can give us a like if you liked it. If you didn't like it, just don't turn it back on. Don't do anything, because I don't like thumbs downs. Get out of here. All right, I'm about to go with my red cap like Fred Durst. I'm DJ, your host as always. You guys take it easy, and we will have a good night. See you next week.